recently relocated to rural England, I was having a hard time adjusting to this quiet, yet serene town near Blackthorn Lane. One night, bored from my house chores, I decided to wander around in this new area. I was unaware of the terror that lived alongside Blackthorn Lane, and the fact that I was about to experience a supernatural encounter that will haunt me for the rest of my life. I left my house, got in the car, and started driving with an intention to calm my mind a bit. The moon hung high in the midnight sky was casting an ethereal glow over the dark landscape of Blackthorn. I was an adventurous soul back then, and I found solace in the solitude of the night on that road. As I drove and navigated through the twisting curves of Blackthorn Lane, I started feeling uneasy due to the eerie silence, which was accompanied by haunting whispers in the dark. I started hearing continuous whispers of my name, John, from both sides of the road, and couldn't apprehend the source of those whispers. As I was concentrating on the haunting whispers, a cloud of dense fog rolled over me, and then enveloped the road in a spectral haze. My heart quickened, and my grip on the steering wheel tightened. The atmosphere around me grew thicker, and it stifled my breath as I peered further into the impenetrable mist. From the corner of my eye, I saw some trees around the road. There were mysterious and ominous shadowy figures moving in between the gaps between the trees. I could still hear the disturbing and creepy whispers whirling through the air. The eerie melodies were echoing in my ears, and my rational mind was being debilitated with mere disbelief. Still, an undeniable presence that lurked in the darkness was haunting me to my core. As I continued my drive on Blackthorn Lane, the chanting of my name continued, growing creepier and louder. John! I started losing my mind. Then, I saw some eerie figure mysteriously standing in the middle of the road. It was flickering in and out of its existence behind the fog that was visible through my headlights. After getting a closer look, I caught a sight of a shadowy figure of a woman with expressions of sorrow and despair etched on her face. My blood ran cold, and I couldn't figure out how to respond. All of a sudden, that spirit reached out to the car, advancing towards me, as if seeking solace or perhaps a chance to communicate. I didn't slow down, nor did she stop moving towards me. Fear mingled with curiosity within my heart, compelling me to stop the car and step into the mist-shrouded night. With anxiety and fear, I finally approached the mysterious figure. My voice was quivering as I asked, "Who are you?" My surroundings were filled with silence, as if everything was waiting for the ghostly woman to speak. But she kept her head down and her hair hanging in front of her face with a partially visible, creepy smirk. I bent down to look at her face, and all of a sudden the ghostly woman raised her eyes, and clamors of hushed voices erupted from everywhere with echoing whispers of my name. John! As the chorus of eerie and otherworldly calls surrounded me, my sanity slipped and got replaced by sheer terror. The woman standing in front of me started laughing in a creepy tone, as if mocking my existence. My screams at that point pierced through the night, and I fled towards my car with panic, trying to escape the chilling presence that consumed me. Throughout that night, I drove recklessly like a maniac through impenetrable depths of that thick fog, surrounded by the eerie chants of my own name, trying to find my way home and end this episode of a supernatural encounter. About every 5 minutes of driving, the ghostly woman mysteriously appeared beside the road, with her creepy, loud laugh sending shivers down my spine. Disoriented and lost, I found myself trapped into a never-ending loop of terror on that treacherous road. Time lost meaning at that point as darkness engulfed my consciousness, right up until the sun emerged on the horizon. It was then that I saw a stranger passing by and I asked for help. I was about to fade when he offered me aid and swiftly transported me to the sanctuary of a hospital. The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana is known as a haunted plantation house in Louisiana. It was said to be one of the most haunted places in the United States. It was built in 1796 by General David Bradford, and it's been the site of many deaths, including murders, suicides, and accidents. I was unaware of all these facts before I decided to move me and my family in for a week as my job got transferred to Louisiana. We decided to embark on a week of adventure that we were going to remember for the rest of our lives. In that sleepy town of St. Francisville, Louisiana, we were new as a family of 3. The first night we spent there was quite casual, yet intense. My wife Elizabeth and I, along with our daughter Lily, checked into the infamous Myrtles Plantation, unaware of the horrors that awaited us within those ancient walls. From the moment we arrived, my wife was complaining of an unsettling aura hanging heavy in the air. The once grand plantation house appeared to breathe with a sinister energy. Locals that we met along the way also warned us about the tales of the house. I've always been a skeptic who dismissed tales of such supernatural, so I brushed off the locals' warnings as mere superstition. Elizabeth, however, couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. This all escalated on the second day when, after the dusk settled, casting long shadows across the plantation, and we were gathered in the grand parlor. Lily's laughter was echoing through the room, intermingling with the faint whispers that seemed to drift from unseen corners. Lily was communicating in a way, as if answering those whispers. Now, that was shocking for both of us as parents. After that, strange occurrences started to happen. Objects were inexplicably moving without any human force, chilling drafts swirling through empty corridors, the feeling of someone running in the corridor, and an unshakable feeling of being watched continuously was tormenting our souls. Somehow, we ignored it. And then, the other night, while Elizabeth tucked Lily into bed, she noticed an ethereal figure standing at the foot of Lily's bed. The strange figure, appearing to be a ghost, was adorned in a tattered gown, glowing with an eerie luminosity. Elizabeth's heart raced as she recognized the ghostly visage of Chloe, the long-deceased resident said to haunt the plantation. She came to me and told me what she saw in Lily's room. And I told her that she was imagining things because of the local tales that we've been hearing about since we arrived. That same day, I saw that same disfigured womanly ghost in Lily's room. I was in shock after that, but still in denial for a while, until Elizabeth persuaded me to believe it and get them out of the situation. Over the course of our stay, we were tormented by Chloe's vengeful presence. Lily, my daughter, once a carefree child, became plagued by nightmares and awakened to mysterious scratches on her arms. Elizabeth's sanity teetered on the edge as the ghostly encounters grew increasingly malevolent. Now I was facing undeniable evidence and could no longer deny the existence of the supernatural. Desperate to protect my family, I sought the help of an old local who knew a lot about the history of the house, Dr. Michael Bansfield. After a detailed discussion, armed with an arsenal of knowledge and holy artifacts, I delved into the dark history of the Myrtles Plantation, unearthing the chilling tale of Chloe's tragic demise. Elizabeth and I went into the basement of the house where allegedly Chloe's murder took place to free Chloe's restless spirit. As we stepped into the darkness, we saw evil beings, heard haunting whispers, and even endured physical harm from an unseen force. Yet, we delved deep into the darkest corners of the plantation's secrets. In a climactic confrontation, we uncovered the truth behind Chloe's murder, sprinkled holy water at that place, and prayed for the spirit to free her from this restless enigma of demons and evil, finally giving her the peace that she so desperately sought. The house is still famous for possession of demons, and some rooms have been closed forever to avoid any mishap. Chloe's murder was solved, and an occultist was found guilty in it. Her husband was never seen again. The occultist then claimed to kill him as well. He claimed it to be a sacrifice for demons and was proud of what he did. He was sentenced to a lifetime in prison. After this harrowing experience, we left the plantation, and we were forever changed as a family. We carried the weight of the paranormal within us, and Lily still gets nightmares and mysterious scratches. Those scratches constantly remind us of the thin veil between the good and the evil. It was about a month that my girlfriend and I had been arguing. She complained that I wasn't giving her the time she deserved. Well, one Saturday night, I came home from an overtime shift and thought of compensating for all those fights. I proposed a sudden road trip. She couldn't believe it. She quickly packed a bag of food, and we left for a night drive on a random highway. We drove for hours, talking and laughing. The road was empty. The only sound was the music playing on the radio and the subtle humming of the car on the highway. Halfway through, Liz started to feel tired, so she decided to take a nap. I found a rest stop and parked the car. I got out and stretched a bit, and then went inside to use the bathroom. As I got back, I saw that Liz was startled and was shivering due to fear. I cuddled her and asked, "What happened, honey? When I left, you were just sleeping. What made you shiver like this?" She couldn't speak properly, so I told her to calm down. We'll continue to drive and it'll get better. I assumed it was just a nightmare. As I drove, I started to notice that the road was getting darker and darker. The trees got thicker around us, and the sky was overcast. We also started to hear dogs bark and wolves howling. Liz started to shiver again. She said that she felt like we were being watched from behind the trees. She consistently alerted me of the presence of eyes lurking beyond the tree veil. I told her that she was just being paranoid, but I couldn't help but feel a little uneasy myself. We drove for a few more hours, and the woods were starting to look more and more ominous. I noticed Liz was really scared now. She begged me to turn around, but I didn't want to. I wanted to keep driving to see where this road would take us. We drove for a few more hours, and the woods became so thick that we couldn't see the sky anymore. It was pitch black, and the only sound was the car engine humming in the ominous silence of the road. Strange occurrences began to unfold at this point. The car's headlights started to flicker, casting eerie shadows on the thick trees that lined the road. Unease gripped both of us, and our instincts were warning us of an unseen danger. Still, I was dismissing Liz's apprehension of danger as mere imagination. Suddenly, the car headlights went out. We were in complete darkness. Liz screamed, and I slammed on the brakes. The car came to a stop, and we sat there in silence. We could hear the sound of our own breathing and the occasional rustle of the trees. I decided to investigate a peculiar sound that echoed through the surrounding darkness and stepped out. leaving Liz alone in the car. Paralyzed with fear, Liz was keeping a watch on me while I was walking on the side of the road with my cell phone's light in my hand. As I advanced into the forest cautiously, my senses were on high alert. Suddenly, my gaze locked onto a bone-chilling sight of a figure emerging from the shadows. It was a strange-looking man that stood tall and menacing, with his features twisted with creepy freckles on his face. He was tall and thin, with his body slightly leaning towards me. His eyes burned with an ominous red glow that pierced through the darkness right into my soul. His presence alone sent shivers down my spine, and I started screaming. As I started screaming, Liz began to panic, and she fumbled for the car keys, desperately attempting to escape the encroaching nightmare. Just as the figure drew dangerously close, I reappeared on the road, running towards the car, my face filled with terror. I shouted at Liz to drive! My voice was trembling with a newfound fear. With a surge of adrenaline, Liz started the car, and the tires were screeching against the road as we fled from the malevolent presence. But the horrors of that night were far from over. The road twisted and turned infinitely. I could see the strange man in my rearview mirror of the car. Along the way, we encountered several sinister entities that taunted and tortured us throughout the way. Liz was crying now, and I didn't know how to get back. Still, I kept on driving until we finally reached our home. That night is a mere reminder of our precious bond to value each other even more. But we will never forget the horrors that we experienced that